Thank you, and thank you for coming so late in the afternoon. We are all a little bit tired. Uh, so I'm Josef. I was a Linux packager, and I'm long-time Ruby on Rails developer. And apparently now I'm also a retired serial author. And yes, I changed my shirt for you, so you feel the relaxed, retired atmosphere. And I want to start my introduction with my first job. Why first job and my current job? Well, I am unemployed, so that's one. And the second reason is that it really started in Brno, Czech Republic. I went to study to Brno at Masaryk University. I studied computer science, applied informatics, and it happened to be that Red Hat is one of the biggest employer in Brno and in the area. And my start at Red Hat was complete out of the blue. My friend actually wanted to apply for internship, and he told me like, apply with me. So I was like, okay. The night before, we looked at the test, because there was a test, it was a Linux test, and I didn't know much about Linux. So we looked for 1 hour, old Red Hat tests, Google, right? How you do it. And we saw always multiple choice. So we don't even have to look, like we just put something there. So we closed it, and the next day we were writing the test. Obviously, it wasn't multiple choice. It was like fill in the blanks. And I didn't know much things about Linux kernel, to be honest. But there was also a section for programming, and I knew how to solve it, and I wrote it in Ruby, and apparently they wanted to hire someone to the Ruby team, apart from many others. So I was invited for the second role, and I actually start working there. And this is the very first building that they built, and where I started. And here it's not really visible, but here starts a very nice terrace where I always escape with one of my friends. Around we made coffee because we are both coffee lovers. And this direction, there is an IBM building, you know. And we were like higher up, we were on the terrace, very nice. So we were always joking about the IBM guys, looking down on them, you know. Little did we know that IBM went to buy Red Hat a couple years later, but that's how it is. And another interesting point is that Red Hat Enterprise Linux is kind of like Czech operating system. You know, people think about it as like this American, North Carolina stuff, but actually the biggest developer center is in Brno, Czech Republic. And after that first building, when I was working there, every year they would build a new building, hire like hundreds of developers, you know. So it was growing really big, really fast. And there is a disadvantage to that, because when they were flying in all the engineers to meet, it was always in Brno, you know. I hoped like, well, nice, I work for American company, maybe I will see America, but that didn't really happen. And another thing is that when I was at Red Hat, Ruby was actually a bit trending. And we had, many people don't know it, but Red Hat had big Rails applications, big products, maybe like 3 of them. One of them, for example, was OpenShift 2. So the OpenShift 3 is the Kubernetes distribution. Maybe you heard about it. But OpenShift 2 was actually pure Rails application. And then it was quite funny because I was at Frozen Ruby or some conference and someone came to me, oh, the big news, right? I was like, what's the big news? Well, Aaron Patterson is joining Red Hat, you know, you work at Red Hat, right? But I didn't know, you know. It's still like such a big company, over 5,000 people. So yeah, he joined, but even though I was on the Ruby platform team, I never met him, I never emailed him, I just, I missed him, yeah, and then he is somewhere else now, so anyways. But let's move on to why we are here and what you want to know, which is how to actually live off book royalties, right? And kind of as a bonus, let's talk about the Ferrari prancing horse. So the step one is obvious. You need to write a very popular book series. We already had today, there was like Duna and so on. I also noticed that some children books do well, you know. So there's very important step one. But there's also step two, and please do not underestimate step number two, which is you need to sell movie rights. That's how you make money. So don't underestimate step number two, and then if you do it right, obviously profit, and now you have a very difficult decision to make. Do you want to drive Porsches or Ferraris, right? And personally, I'm like Porsche guy, but if you look close enough, the horse is kind of similar, right? And maybe you never thought about it. Normal people probably don't, but I was curious. I was like, why? You know, I had to investigate why they are so similar. So obviously, Porsche is the simple one. It comes from coat of arms of Stuttgart, Baden-Württemberg. That's where it's made. But what about Ferrari, right? And there is actually a legend that it could be the same horse even. So the legend is that there was a very successful Italian fighter like Ace of Aces called Baracca, and he had many kills, I think 34, and the legend says that when he shot down a pilot from Stuttgart, he would adopt this mark kill, the horse, on his plane. So that's the legend, but the official story, the family story, is that the horse was actually already a banner of his previous cavalry regiment before he joined Air Force. This is his plane and the horse. And his dad and mom actually met Enzo Ferrari after one race. And the mom suggested that he should adopt the horse as good luck, right? Because 34 kills, that's really big success. But I would also say that in the end, he still died in the war just before the end at the age of 30. So I guess drive safe if you drive Ferrari. And with that, I would say it's time to stop dreaming and take the red pill and go for the reality check. And the reality check that technical books actually don't sell movie rights. I mean, have you ever taken your date to a movie theater and you went for a movie called Rail 6 and the Woodpecker Pain? Probably not. So it's a bit harder with technical books. And in the whole time of my book, from starting to writing, marketing, finishing to till day, I only earned a total of $44,000 in revenue. So that's basically the reality. And I also checked that the entry-level Porsche starts just under 70 grand. So seems I'm not really there. So the retired part is more like I'm tired of writing, not that I have money. But still, it's motivation for many. And I ask on my Twitter if programmers want to actually write technical books. And it seems they want. So obviously there are other advantages to write one. Maybe you want to be more popular. Maybe you want to show your book to your kids. Maybe you want to learn a little bit more about a particular topic. It's all valid reasons. For me personally, I was at the time of my life when I started to feel some health issues. I had pain in my nerve going from back to my leg. So I simply said it's not worth it. I will quit my job for some time and relax. But of course, I didn't want to just like waste the time, so I was like, what will I do? And I ended up thinking, okay, so I will write a book. It should be manageable within like, you know, something like 5 months. Why not? So that was the idea. That was the plan. Maybe why I decided to write deployment from scratch. Personally, I was looking on topic that could fit me, but also that I thought was at least a little bit unique. I didn't want to be writing about, let's say, Ansible 2, Ansible 3, and so on. I wanted to do something a little bit different, something that maybe is not there yet. So I wrote a book about how to do the deployment just with pure bash, really explaining the core basics of Linux, bash scripting, and some of the core components. And of course, I needed to validate that some people might still want it, because one thing is that what you want to write, and the other thing is what people want to read. So as validation, I wrote a blog post and I posted to Ruby subreddit saying, okay, hey guys, I'm writing a book on VPS deployment. Of course, things from the initial description changed, but I got like 50 subscribers to a mailing list that I created. So I was like, that's not too bad, that's okay. So I went with the idea, you know. And the second thing I did differently was that I was thinking that technical books are sometimes a little bit dry. Like, it's not really a problem. I also buy and read technical books, but I wanted to make it just a little bit lighter. So I created this character. He's called Tiger the Cat. And he's just like providing some comments in the book, you know, introduce himself as Tiger. People call me Meow, don't know why. I like following mice on Twitter, coffee, and DevOps. Basically, it's kind of maybe self-deprecating character. It's like he likes to think himself about being a tiger, but actually he's just at home. You know, he follows mice from the safe distance of Twitter and drinks a lot of coffee, obviously. This is how it looks in the book. So, for example, here he will tell you about how you had to register a domain name in the very beginning. You basically had to call a network information center personally and get a domain name. But while the initial subscriber count looked good, it was actually a really long road ahead, and I was getting subscribers very slowly. I basically only had my blog with maybe like 300 people a day, and I had a link there, and that was it. So it took me over 1 year to reach just 200 people. And those are not buyers, those are just like people that give you an email, you know. And as for the writing, that was even worse, you know. Because I started my day by going for coffee, buying donut, playing Netflix, then it was afternoon. Then I felt tired. So the question is how to actually survive writing in the long term, right? If you have to write longer than 5 months, how to even survive it. And as a bonus also, why it's easier to meet lions than giraffes on the safari. So 5 months was over, you know, and I found myself in Colombia. And I know what you are thinking. I came for the substance that Colombia is known for, that lifts up your spirits, that makes your life more interesting, that makes book editing effortless. And you are right. It's cocaine. No. Of course, it's coffee. It's coffee. It's coffee, and I even have a picture from the organic farm I went to visit. I planted my first physical coffee plant there, but I couldn't drink it. They told me it takes 3 years for someone to drink it. So someone else is enjoying my coffee now. And so coffee was big part of survival, of course. That's also survival for any of my days, literally. And the other one was travel. So change of scenery. I went to Colombia, but also then I met a friend in Mexico. Then I returned to Colombia. I saw Caribbean and did interesting things. I also took an opportunity that started as a part-time, but moved to full-time. So there was less time for the book, but it was flexible. I could travel. It was good. But as for the book writing, I was waiting. I was waiting. I was waiting until the COVID came, right? The COVID came, and actually at the time I was in Vietnam, so completely different part of the world. And there was no COVID in Vietnam, so I stayed, right? I stayed 9 months. But then my father had a birthday. I was like, I have to go back. And I knew I will probably get COVID if I get back. So I got back. It was the time of harshest lockdown in the Czech Republic. And of course, within first week, I got COVID. Yeah. And that sounds a bit boring because like everything was closed, but at the same time I was getting sick. So what should I do, right? So I was thinking where to escape again. And the answer is actually obvious. Like one part is close to Czech Republic, but at the same time, part where people don't really care about, rules and stuff. And yes, it's Balkans, right? So I was in, I was in Durrës. It's a beautiful, beautiful city in Albania with a little bit of beach side. Really nice. I came just at the end of winter, kind of, so it wasn't like really summer vibes. But I would say that for the first time, I really felt like this writer vibes. I would wake up, I would have a walk by the beach, I would stop for coffee, and so on. And then at the same time, my brother was also in town, and he also started to write a book. I would say after me, but he would tell you something else. And at one lunch, he told me, hey, I already put it on Gumroad, like I got $10. I was like, wait, like you started later than me and you are already like getting money, that's not how it should work. So I had this realization, I'm 2.5 years in and I had no book and made no sales. So that was like a kind of wake-up call for me. So I put together a pre-sale. I put 10 first chapters, finished them up, put them there, and I reused the tiger, stop waiting, catch the pre-release. And yeah, I sold first 80 copies that month, and I got my first money, which felt really good. Because although it's not like a big sum, it was like, okay, maybe I'm not writing it that long for nothing. Maybe someone will buy it. And the following months, I was getting maybe like 700 a month from, at that time, 600 subscribers. I will always publish an update, send it out there, some people would buy. So not too bad, I was traveling in Balkans and I was getting some money every month, which was really nice. Another really important thing was that because of the pre-release, I got even more draft feedback. And that's really, really important. I was lucky that some people were even like printing all my pages, making notes, sending them to me, which was really, really cool that someone is going to help you even for free. That's just super cool. And another thing is that I'm obviously not an English speaker, so I needed to find a way how to fix typos. Many times it was fixed by people emailing me, but I didn't have money for actually hiring a proper person to fix it. So what I did was I bought Grammarly Pro, and I simply always copied the whole chapter, ran it through, and it always fixed something. So that was good, better than nothing, I would say. And after some wait, the book was finished. Of course, it was 3 years later, right? So I did the launch where I sold 97 copies, so a little bit more than the pre-release, almost $4,000. Again, I simply just announced on my blog, and I put it also again on Reddit. And I think that was fun part, because you remember the first post I did for the idea. So I said, hey guys, you remember me? 3 years ago, I said I will write a book, and I am back. I am back, and you can actually buy it. So, and what followed was like really probably the best part, because I was getting some sales. It was not too much, but I was getting something, and I could really enjoy my travel, just checking up the camera dashboard and seeing the world. And I had the opportunity to come on a safari in Tanzania, actually in Selous National Park, which is the biggest game park in Africa. It's not very well known like the others, but it's the biggest one. And that brings me to lions, because it's actually really easy to see lions on safari for some reason, And when you go in the jeep, you arrive to some animals, and they always already start going away from you, Giraffes, they're basically just like deer, they just like run away. But lions, no, because they are epic predators, they are not afraid, so they don't care, right? They don't run away, so you can come really close. And there are also people coming in these like open jeeps, right? I didn't do that. I still think like accidents can happen, right? It's still open, but people do that, and this is because the lions see the whole vehicle with the people in it as one big animal. So unless you separate, it's just one big thing, something like an elephant, and he just doesn't care. And another thing why maybe he will not attack is that at the time you come, he is probably already full, tired, unbothered, and doesn't care. And when I was in Tanzania, I decided to do more marketing, right? We heard it today, marketing, you have to market. So I prepared a show Hacker News post, and actually I got like second on the homepage, and it brought 10,000 visits in one day, which was really cool. It was actually my third time I was on the homepage, and it was during writing and so on, so it definitely helped. And it also resulted in some sales. So as you can see, this is all sales in all time. And this is, of course, the post on Hacker News. So I sold 100 in a day, and 50 more the next day. Another cool thing was that I was invited to podcast. Jeremy was actually reading already the pre-release and invited me to Software Engineering Radio. And Jason Sweat invited me sometime after my lunch. So that was cool. I was first time podcast guest. I could try it. So that was really nice. Till date, I sold 1,100 sales without a publisher, simply just on Gumroad. I didn't even put it on some other marketplaces, just from that simple place and simple homepage. And maybe you are asking, so okay, am I still getting some sales? Because sometimes books sell at the beginning and then it ends. So this is the graph for this year. I'm still getting some sales, maybe like $900 a month from this book. And this brings me to my second book, which at the time of applying for this talk was not existent, right? But I was in Palawan and I thought to myself, I have the time, right? I have the time, and I was kind of involved myself in Kamal. I was moving to Kamal for all my projects and also for one client, little client. So I said, okay, maybe it's time to write a second book, but I said to myself, if I do it, it has to be completely different. So no 3 years, but 5 weeks. I didn't even bother with homepage, mailing list. I didn't bother with graphics, nothing. I just put it on my Twitter, that I am writing. And soon after that, I put there, here's a, not even pre-release, just pre-sale, and you can buy it. I saw like 115 pre-sales when people didn't even maybe knew what it will be, which was really cool. And just before my lunch, I actually got Donald McBreen, principal engineer at 37 Signals, and someone who's involved with Kamal now. He cut the 1.4 release. So I got him to write a foreword, and this happens because he actually wrote me. He noticed that I'm writing the book, and when he already wrote me, I thought it's a good idea to maybe try to ask him for this favor to give me the foreword. And he said yes, that is a good idea. So he wrote it just for lunch, and my hard deadline in 5 weeks, I really did. I really finished, and I really put it out there, and I did over 400 sales, which resulted in over $7,000 US. And it brings me maybe to tell you a little bit how is it on selling on Gumroad, why I'm on Gumroad. Actually, Gumroad is why I'm even selling in the first place. I would not be selling otherwise. They are not like free. There's 10% fee and there's processing fee, but they give you so much. They mostly handle the local value-added tax, which was the most important thing and why I even started, to be honest. But they also have a lot of features. You can put many tiers. You have marketplace, so they sell for you, maybe even when you don't market yourself. There are affiliates. They have email marketing that comes already in the price for free, so you can then email your customers, send them new promotions and so on, which is very nice. And they also have bundles, which are now used, right? I put two of my books to one bundle, and I basically made someone coming for $17 book to end with $60 purchase, right? Which is good for me, of course. How I approached pricing was that deployment from scratch is more expensive book because it also comes with code and so on. So it was for $50 for the most part. Now I also put there that you can buy single copy, but that's also only like recent edition. But most people still buy the $50 one. And for Camel Handbook, I want actually something cheaper. Well, for one, it's short book. It's fair to be cheap, but I also wanted something to have a product where people can like easily buy it so that I can get a sale a day, for lifting up your spirits, because it's addicting, you get a sale email from Gumroad, it's addicting. And if it doesn't happen for like 3-4 days, you start to question like, maybe my site is down, maybe Gumroad stopped working, what's the problem? And there's no problem, people are just not buying, because you have to constantly market, and if you don't, then well, it doesn't happen, right? And that brings me to one other thing, which is refunds and reviews. For the most part, I am lucky. I got really good reviews, but I was handling one refund. The customer wrote me that he wants a refund, and because he already kind of used the books and everything, I was offering him a partial refund, which I thought would be fair. I replied him within 12 hours. And then for the second email, he wrote me, okay, like, no, I want full refund, okay. And then he immediately wrote to Gumroad, opened the case that he needs a refund, right? And he made sure to write a long story about like how my book is disgusting. I don't know how technical book can be disgusting. Like it can be bad, but low quality perhaps, but disgusting. Okay. That's also a review. And when he opened the case, it was funny because then he also started to attack Gumroad. He was like, okay, because they told him, wait 30 days, the author have time to reply. And he was like, no, you should just refund me, you should refund me. And then I replied there, yeah, I will of course refund him, like I don't even want this kind of customer. But even though he knew that he will be refunded, he still spent time to write me even longer essay and put it as a review for both of my books because he bought the bundle, right? But little did he knew that the way reviews work on Gumroad is that when you get a refund, your review will never be shown. So I did. His work was in vain. And to finish up, yeah, for stack, actually 2 different stacks. I use Pandoc and LaTeX for the first book because I felt like I need flexibility. The Tiger the Cat was actually like big macro, crazy macro. For the second one, I was just like, hey, I will just do ASCII doc because it's very simple and it's actually written in Ruby, simple to start. It looks a little bit different than Markdown, which I really wanted for the first book, but in the end, it doesn't matter. If it works for you, just start with ASCII doc. You will have it done in no time. So in conclusion, I fixed my health. I don't feel the pain anymore. I made a lot of connection. I was first time podcast guest. I did a lot of travel, and even for the money, I mean, it's not enough to buy a Porsche, but if I count the hours for salary in my country, it would be like average salary. So I still created a job for myself in a way, because it was 3 years, but it was like 1 year of the time that I was not invoicing, that I was really like spending with the book. So basically like missed revenue in the sense. So yeah, I would earn more if I just worked, but I think it was also very interesting experience. And of course, let's not forget, I'm here. So I also got to a conference. And so what is the future? Well, for example, I never did something like proper SEO, for the book. I simply like market just in the moment with Twitter and so on. So maybe there is still option to sell more. I'm not really sure, but right now, as I said, I'm tired. And if you want to support me, then feed me. Buy a copy. Buy a copy, because when you buy a copy, I have lunch that day. So please consider buying a copy. And to finish on a high note, I actually got a Gumroad email today. So today I got a payout. This is for like last week. So I did some sales of Camel Handbook, also deployment from scratch. So who knows, maybe one day. Thank you for attention.